Hello everyone, this is a very quick video. I'm going to do a little more detailed, funnier video about this, but I really wanted to do this because I'm a little bit frustrated and I just kind of want to rant. I may do a silly voice in here making fun of conservatives at some point because I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated in the sense that as a 40-year-old man from Alaska, I live in a very conservative state. Actually, to say Alaska's conservative would be a grotesque understatement. This place is surrounded by people who believe that oil companies should basically pay no taxes. And if they do pay taxes, they should choose how much taxes they pay. This is a military-industrial complex nightmare. Any criticism of the military or how our money is spent towards the military or their budget, or that it's a killing war machine, or that it pollutes the environment, any of that kind of talk up here is not wanted, not needed, and can get you beaten up in certain parts of town. Of course, this state is also filled with a lot of union members, yet they vote Republican, which if you've read Thomas Frank's book, What's the Matter with Kansas, he explains this in great detail, why people tend to do this. They don't understand politics. They don't understand anything. They just don't want to be considered liberal. They think that their individual rights are more important than societal rights until they need the commons, until they need Social Security for their grandmother or grandfather or mother or father, or they need help from the state to pay for something, medical coverage, etc. Then they're all for socialism. Not until it affects them. They lack empathy in a way that's tragic, that's unbelievable in this state. I have listened to people say things about poor people, say things about the working class, say things about minorities, say things about whatever that have stunned me, and they're all conservatives. Liberals don't have a sense of humor. That's one thing I've noticed as much, but at least they're not vile creatures who are dishonest at every turn and blame others for any problems that they may have caused for themselves or may have done themselves. And they're the kind of people who tell other people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps but never take responsibility for what they do. Rex Tillerson will never take responsibility for what he's done. Donald Trump doesn't take responsibility. Have you ever heard these people talk? They don't take responsibility for the environmental or the degradation or what Donald Trump said to women or did to women or has done to women or has done to minorities when he was in the 70s and 80s when he had federal housing and he was illegally keeping black families out of his housing, and so was his father. They don't apologize. They don't get held accountable. He didn't even this government didn't make him admit to guilt. He just pled no contest. This is conservatism, and this is what conservatism is. Conservatism is ugly. It's racism. It's Jim Crow. It's segregation. It's white nationalism. It's neoliberalism. And I know Democrats are responsible for this too, but I don't consider Democrats liberals. If you know anything about the political landscape of America, I'm not going to go into some kind of historical lesson here about where we are, but if you haven't noticed that this country has been pulled completely to the right in the last 25, 30 years, then you're not paying attention. The most liberal president that we've in the last 30 years, let's keep it to that, is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is not a liberal. So when I'm talking about conservatives versus liberals, we've had conservatives. We have conservatives. You can't swing a dead cat's dick without hitting a fucking conservative in this country or conservative ideas. Have you seen Paul Ryan talk? Listening to that little sack of shit speak? That fucking tumor of a human being? And then there's that fucking Mitch McConnell and his chicken fucking neck who's married to Chen, who's now going to be transportation secretary. I mean, or that fucking that closet fucking queen, Lindsey Graham, who does everything he can possibly to oppress those that because he's so ashamed of who the fuck he is in his life. These are conservatives, folks. Pro-military, pro-death, pro-murder, pro-killing, and no empathy. Their empathy goes only as far as their family, only as far as their genetics. They don't care about you. They don't care about your suffering. They don't care about those Indians cold water being sprayed on them in North Dakota and protesters and veterans. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They didn't give a shit about Walter Reed. Remember the Walter Reed scandal with the Veterans Hospital? They don't give a shit about veterans that they send to war regularly on a regular basis. Conservatives are evil. If you want to identify evil in our world, it's conservatism. Conservatism has brought you all the alternative right. It's brought you individuals' rights are more important than societal rights. Which, if I know people out there like, Jason, God, this is what the alternative right has fed you. That communism is the worst fucking thing that's ever existed. When in fact it was capitalism that is the worst fucking thing that ever existed. And we see it, and we know it, and we can touch it, and we still deny it. Conservatives still fucking deny it. They're still hoping they're going to be rich. And I include you middle of the road motherfuckers in this conservative talk because of all of you think that being conservatives somehow is going to give because you're on the winning side. Because the majority of America's always been conservative. We don't have a history of the left in this country. The history of the left died with the New Deal. It died. It died. Eugene Debs, the socialist movement, the communist movement, the workers' unions, only 7% of private workers are in a union. 7% in America. The unions are dead. The left is fucking dead in this country. It's one of the reasons I'm leaving it. I don't want to live here anymore, especially Alaska. But I really don't want to live I don't really want to live in the United States, period. And I've talked about this before. The left is dead in this country. And the left is your only hope. Okay? This is fucking R2-D2 with the fucking thing coming up and fucking Carrie Fisher, rip. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Who would think somebody who did cocaine for 30 straight years would die of a heart attack? Anyway, this is that holograph moment in Star Wars. You left, you're our only hope. The left's gone. You motherfucker. I mean, it's over. The left is gone. It doesn't exist. The left is so weak that it still thinks that Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer are a good idea. The left. Do you know what the Democrats? The geniuses inside the Democratic Party. Who are they trying to fight for? You know, I know he lost, but who do they want to lead them? A fucking black Muslim from Minnesota. No offense to anybody who's a Muslim, but you're not even a percentage of the fucking barely a percentage of the American population. Barely. Not enough to even be pandered to. And yet you're going to make the face of the Democrats, of the left in this country, a Muslim black man? Are you trying to lose forever? Are you trying to destroy the Democratic Party and any vestiges of liberalism that's left? You don't go and get some young, hot, some young, even or female, male. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what their ethnicity is. But you go and get a Muslim in America in 2017 to be the face of your party. You're fucking retarded. But that's the left. So let's not do this. Let's not be smart. And by the way, Keith Ellison's not some fucking liberal, by the way. He's not. He's a fucking he's a vet. And and his policies are, I would consider him more of a Nancy Pelosi Democrat than the kind of Democrat that a liberal in a million years. Because you're not allowed to be a liberal anymore. Especially after 9/11, they just beat that word to death. But now you're stuck with what that gives you. We've seen what conservatism, what Reaganism, what Reaganomics have brought us that turned into Bushonomics, that turned into Clintonomics, who just deregulated more, and then George W. Bush, who just tax cut, deregulated more, and Obama, who just tax cut, deregulated more. And now we see what's going to happen with Trump. It'll just be the final nail in the coffin of capitalism because there's no way that this greed can support itself. The guy that he nominated for his Secretary of Treasury is a guy who evicts people for a living. There is no empathy. Rex Tillerson runs the most dirty corporation that's ever existed on the planet Earth, ExxonMobil. There is no empathy. He doesn't care if he pollutes the South America. He doesn't care if he kills indigenous people. He doesn't just care if literally the oil companies were told in the 70s, burning fossil fuels, we got to stop this fossil fuel shit. And if we don't, Club of Rome, we don't. And what did the alternative right tell you about that? Well, it was all a big conspiracy, Alex Jones. Well, it was all a big conspiracy, the Club of Rome, and this is a natural warming cycle. You know, this natural warming cycle roughly was around the same time of the Industrial Revolution. Roughly the same time. But we don't want to have that because that's not scientific enough. So the mainstream doesn't just pin that on your head all the time. If I were the mainstream and I was serious about environmental, trying to get money for the environment, trying to change it, and trying to change our infrastructure out of an oil-based infrastructure into something solar or wind or tidal or renewables, then I would certainly never want to mention that this heating cycle basically started roughly the same time our industrial revolution started in the world. We are killing our Earth. And conservatives only want to kill it faster because there's money to be made. So Rex Tillerson doesn't give a shit about Arctic sea ice as long as he can get his oil tankers up there and to get more oil out of the ground. That's great for the oil companies. It's killing us. We're killing ourselves. We have more carbon in the atmosphere. We passed 400 parts per million? We're past it. We passed it. We're at a breaking point. And no, you're not going to, in 20 years from now, I'm telling you what, people don't understand what's coming down the road. They just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And they let Drudge and they let Newsmax and they let the right wing and they let Fox and they let everybody question all of this stuff because it's conservative. Because conservatives have more money than everybody else and money controls everything, so they can control the message. They're killing us all and they don't care. That shows psychopathy. That shows they're psychopaths. That shows they have no empathy. That shows that they have absolutely no concern even for their own grandchildren. They have absolutely no concern. Rex Tillerson does not even care about his own family. These people do not give a shit. All they care about is making billions of dollars, getting that stock price higher, chasing. These people don't care, and they all could affect change overnight. You think the CEOs of 15 of the biggest corporations in the world got together, held a press conference that everybody wouldn't show up and listen to them talk, and they could all say we're going to change the way we do our business? They won't, because that would cost them money. They run things at a profit. Everything's got to make money. And then you take that surplus and then you manipulate everybody and trick them into believing whatever your corporation needs them to believe. And that's conservatism, folks. And that's where we are. Conservative gives you people like, gives you, Trump, gives you Ayn Rand, gives you Hitler, gives you Mussolini, gives you Stalin. Every dictator ever. They're all conservatives. It gives you that psychopath Duarte in fucking the Philippines who admits driving around on his motorcycle that he used to kill people. When he was a cop in Manila or wherever the fuck he used to just drive around and kill people. That's conservatism. A coarsening of our society. More violence than ever. And violence travels well. That's another reason Hollywood uses violence and everything, because violence, you don't need to be able to speak English to understand a guy shooting another guy. So that's one of the reasons violence is, but it's also the conservatism in our country. Zombie shows, showing people still watch The Walking Dead after 10 years or whatever, 8 years, whatever, 6 years, whatever it's been on, 7 years. It's all The Walking Dead is new ways of killing human beings. Well, let's kill them with a fork. Let's kill them with a knife. Let's set them on fire. Let's cut their fucking heads off. Let's drop them from a great height. Let's hang them from a tree. Let's bury them underground. Let's run them over with a car. Let's run them over with a train. Let's set them on fire this time. But this time when we set them on fire, then we'll spray more gas on them and see if it's evil, and it's just lessening us. Play a video game. Every video game is about killing human beings. Every single one. Forget imagination, forget time travel, forget any cool things, quantum physics, all these quirk things that we could be doing, nope. Killing people. Get a gun and go shoot some shit. It's the coarsening of our society. It's the violence of our society. And capitalism, I know, is it's entirely to blame for it. But conservatism is what has led to capitalism's inevitable allowing all of us to be nothing more than money, nothing more than numbers, nothing more than digits, nothing more than statistics. That's all we are, is statistical analysis for some insurance company. That's all we are. And it's all conservatism. Conservatism are people like CPAs and money people and people that go into the financial industry and people that read Ayn Rand and people. These are the people that control your fucking planet. They're people like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates and fucking Jeff Bezos and Peter Thiel and Zuckerberg and all these fucking guys. And you could tell me they support Democrats. You could whatever. They're not. They're not liberal. You're not listening. It's all conservative. That's who runs your country. Everything is conservative. There is no left voice. None. The left voices are Julian fucking Assange and fucking Edward Snowden. And Edward Snowden's a libertarian. Edward Snowden made a comment that if old people would get off their asses, we wouldn't have to send them Social Security checks anymore. If old people would just go back to work. That's Edward Snowden. And they're considered to be the left. That's who the right focuses their hate on. And they're not even that. They're not even left. I mean, look at Julian Assange's weird past. And so this conservatism that has taken over our country, it's like the Colin Kaepernick thing. He didn't stand for he took a knee for the Pledge of Allegiance, or the anthem, and then the Drudge and every other right-wing news source spent the entire season trying to blame the dips in ratings in the NFL to Colin Kaepernick not being patriotic. They had polls from polling companies who cannot be trusted and have been wrong before, you can basically pay to get any poll you want. This British polling company, one of the largest, by the way, all those polls you take online, this is who does those polls. And they're corrupt as fuck. And they're wrong, which is amazing. But it shows that they're being paid because polls, I heard this once, polls are not to judge public opinion, they're to mold public opinion. So this totally makes sense. So people read a poll and they go, 80%, 60%, well, I'm going to be on the 60%, even though I don't agree with it or know about this subject. I like being on the percent. I like being with the winners. That's conservatism. Conservatives are front runners. They're bourgeoisie. They're fucking, they're the people at the very top. They're anti-union, they're anti-working class, they're frightened, they're superstitious, they're paranoid, they're into hardcore control politics, they're into authoritarianism, they have a total lack of empathy for others outside them, they're frightened, they live in the American dream is a crushing nightmare of long, empty, lonely drives in your car and ugly fucking freeways that take up thousands and thousands of square miles in cities. We have ugly fucking concrete and ugly fucking glass buildings and ugly fucking infrastructure and ugly fucking television. Boring, banal, mediocre. The number one network is CBS. They show shows like The Big Bang Theory. They show shows like Nash Bridges, which isn't even on anymore. Walker, Texas Ranger. They still show Mass. You know, on Christmas they still show Mass on CBS. They still pander to religious old people. You know what CBS's slogan should be? CBS is number one because old people haven't figured out how to stream yet. That's what it really should be, because that's all it is. It's old conservatives. It's CSI. Who gives a fuck where you are? It's navy blue and military and pro gun and pro cop and pro fucking. Take two actors who barely had movie careers in the 90s and throw them into a fucking a situation comedy. I'm almost virtually sputtering and speechless watching my society evolve into this conservatism, banality, mediocre lack. It's like, it reminds me of when Ashcroft was putting fig leaves on the fucking balls. He didn't want to show the private parts. You know, this guy, they're bombing Iraq and killing children and torturing people in black sites, but he's fucking concerned that somebody might see somebody's dick. Or somebody, the pornography in our country, the pornography that's online, the constant pornography in the mainstream. I go online to CNN and just look on any news site and try to get away from a woman's breasts. Try to get away from being over-sexualized. Then you turn women into the objects, which goes into perfectly with conservatives, because conservatives want to control women's bodies. So if they're just objects, it makes them much easier to control, and it makes them just take the humanity out of them, because conservatives take the humanity out of everybody. Conservatism takes the humanity out and turns it into zero tolerance. Zero tolerance is zero intelligence. So you don't have to think when you're a conservative. And by the way, there's been studies done that have shown drinking and people that drink to excess and drink too much are mostly conservatives. Because you're stupid, because it kills your brain. Then you're just surrounded in the American ethos, and you're only given conservatism light or conservatism dark. But you're going to get conservatism one way or another. You're going to get austerity. You're going to get lack of social programs. You're going to get a lack of empathy. Hey, you can't make it work, so fucking be it. You can't pay your electrical bill. The government doesn't help you. They'll give you the number to the United Way. You can't pay your phone bill, can't pay your medical bills. Government's not going to help you if you have a job and make too much money. So what they're gonna give you to a credit department, and okay, we'll cut this bill in half. Wait a minute, how are you charging me $30,000 when you could actually be charging me $12,000? How is that legal? And there's nobody to help me, but you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. Or did you raise this artificially because you knew there was no way I was going to be able to pay it? But if I could pay it, great, 30 grand for the insurance companies. We can just keep fucking each other over, because that's conservatism. One domino fucks over the next domino, and the next domino falls, and he fucks over the next domino. And you just think of dominoes as having penises and asses, and they just keep falling on each other and fucking them over in an endless fucking 1970s domino display on That's Incredible type of fucking that is going on in our country right now. And I'm watching it unfold in front of my fucking eyes, which is probably the worst. I'm not reading it in a history book. I'm not analyzing it from data. I'm simply watching, the House Ethics Committee. They failed, but they tried to get there to be less ethical. They were like, let's be less ethical. Why would anybody take anything seriously that anybody does in this country anymore? How has this shit not just evolved into pure, all of us just like Caligula? Like seriously, like we're just all in a gymnasium fucking each other naked, smeared in goat shit, eating babies. This country is so far from it. And then there's the lack of being able to criticize the military. That's my favorite part of all of this, is that there's nobody that ever wants to say one fucking bad word in a position of leadership that's a conservative about the military. The military, law and order, the military, law and order. Cops are good, and you think it's just racism, but it's fear. It's authoritarianism and it's fear. They want daddy to tell them what to do because they don't want to have to, but at the same time, they don't want daddy to tax them. Libertarians, that's another conservative element of shit that I hate. And I'm sorry that I'm going off on this rant. This is pointless, and I apologize for anybody that had to listen to it. This is a frustration rant, and I'm I'm going to write out some list of things. I'm going to do one of those list videos that I love so very much. And but I just needed to get this off my chest because I'm tired of novelty over substance. I'm tired of me first. I'm tired of the individual being more important than the community. I'm tired of the bastardization of everything that isn't conservatism, because conservatism steals elections. It produced Donald Trump. It abuses women on levels that can't even be described. It dehumanizes anybody that isn't in the power structure, that doesn't have. It's sitting at the cool table, and then the kid at the end who has no empathy, and he's rich and he's good looking, and he makes fun of the poor kids that walk by and the disabled children and everybody and the good people in the middle. They centered those kids, and we all know them. That you were one of those two kids. I was the kid at the end of the table who nobody, because I wouldn't accept that shit. You said what? Shut your fucking mouth. And I grew up poor, trailer park poor. But I didn't care. And I didn't want to be part of the, and I'm sure I'm talking to the same people out there. You saw this. You either sit around at the fucking table. This is a metaphor, of course. You either sit around the table and let the conservatives make fun of everything, destroy the environment, take everything, and sit and go, okay, well, when things change, we'll just vote and hope things change, and we'll go to Walmart. Or you can fucking stand up and say, this is crazy. You're fucking nuts. Everything you're saying is nuts. I may be kicked out of here. Nobody will ever speak to me again. I may never be popular. But at least I said something. At least somebody said something. This madness. We've got, you either sit there and you take this shit or you say something. And I guess that's where I'm at. I want everyone to say something. Thank you for listening and have a great day.